Hey, Fliz Brian, I'm back. Or still here, rather. Waiting for the next World Cup game to start. My wife's a world sports fanatic, so the Olympics and World Cup and things like that. She's zeros in on. There we go. Um, so I figured I'd try and get one more in, and this is actually pretty short, easy one, kind of. But we'll see how this rolls. Okay, a Bronze Age world. And it talks about Gloranthan metals, right? Rune metals and all the magical properties and all that cool good stuff. And it talks about, Glorantha is not Earth. And so while we call Gloranthan's metal bronze, it's not exactly like bronze on Earth. Although it sure seems to be an awful lot like it, especially when you get to this tin and copper thing. But anyway, so all metals on Glorantha are mined from the bones of the gods from the gods' war, right? And bronze, which is a storm god thing, and I'll get to that in a second as well. Were there that many storm gods that bronze is the most proliferate metal in Glorantha? I didn't think so. But anyway, again, they're analogs. They're not the same. They're not duplicates. And the metals they discuss are aluminum, bronze, copper, gold, iron, lead, mercury, which is also aluminum because aluminum is also mercury in Glorantha, silver, and tin. Okay, so they specifically say that all metals in Glorantha, save for bronze, so not bronze, but all the metals, can be enchanted, giving them special magical abilities or properties. Yeah, okay. Then it goes on to say that silver and iron in particular, have a special property in that they affect, even in their raw form, creatures that are immune to normal metals, like were creatures, for example. And then again, in iron and silver, they talk about this again. Remember that piece. Okay. I initially had this huge issue with Gloranthan bronze being made by combining tin and copper. But I have come to learn that apparently there is a mythology out there somewhere where tin, which is associated somewhere with the sky, and copper, which is associated with the earth, those gods got together, made the storm gods, which is bronze. Okay, I can kind of see that maybe special occasions, technology kind of stuff, we can make bronze if we need to, kind of thing. Still don't like the idea though. And it says here, no enchantment rituals for bronze. And they talk about there's a whole thing here on what is bronze. And it talks again about, they have the same name as terrestrial equivalents, right? But they have their own properties. It's not exact match. It says, however, there are many similarities. And then it goes into this paragraph, or the rest of the paragraph goes, when freshly wrought, bronze is both lighter and visibly brighter than copper, harder than iron, and can be polished almost to the appearance of light gold. That is earthly bronze, not Gloranthan bronze, but talks about Gloranthan bronze having many similarities with earthly bronze because all this stuff, right? So Gloranthan bronze is not lighter or brighter than copper. It's not harder than iron, right? Okay, bad placement. That's all I'll say. It says here bronze can be found in a pure state, but is more commonly made by heating copper and tin. I would say exact opposite. And then talks about ingots and stuff. Okay, that's wood is bronze, right? Back to rune metals. Obviously, rune metals cost to different, right? Bronze, an encumbrance of bronze costs 7 lunars. An encumbrance of aluminum costs 40. Cost of iron is 700, right? 100 times as much as bronze, and all the various iterations. Okay, copper. Okay, so earth metal. Apparently, elves have access to this kind of stuff. Um, when it's unenchanted, you can still make armor and weapons out of it. It has the same encumbrance as bronze. However, the armor points, which are equal to bronze, are more susceptible to damage. So if you overcome the weapon hit points or the armor points of the stuff, every time you go over that number, It decreases that value by 1. So, excuse me, copper broadsword. 12 encumbrance? Yeah, 12 hit points, right? You do 13 points of damage, which would, that 1 point would go over in any kind of weapon, right? Into the opponent. But actually, in combat, the weapon would go down by 1. That's interesting. There may be a dichotomy here. So, bronze broadsword, 12 hit points. Bronze copper sword, 12 hit points. Both are blocking your attack. Goes over. Oh, it depends on the matrix. The matrix says when it goes over, do damage to the weapon, but it always goes damage to the copper. That's kind of. But I think it's going to end up being equivalent in either way. That's interesting. It's interesting. But it does say that if you enchant it, then the value to do damage to the copper weapon is twice high. So instead of doing 12 points, it takes 24 points of damage to damage the copper bronze enchanted bronze sword, which by the way then makes it better than the bronze sword, which still only takes 12. I'm gonna have to map that out and see how that goes. I didn't even think about that. Okay, also enchanted copper can be hammered very thin, reducing its defense value by 1, but having the encumbrance. So if you were to make enchanted copper plate armor, you only have 5 points instead of 6, right? But the total encumbrance would be 6 instead of much more than that. I don't remember exactly how. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of 10, maybe. So that's handy. Get gold. And I had an interest in gold about some stuff in a previous scenario I was writing up. So there's some things about enchanted gold that I was interested in. Okay, gold, soft and pliable. It's used for jewelry. Blah 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 blah. Okay, when it's enchanted, though, it glows softly in the dark and doubles the effectiveness of light-producing spells. So if we're to cast a normal light spell, instead of filling 10 meters, it fills 20. Right? Cool. Like that. Gold is quite dense, has twice the encumbrance of bronze. Because of that, people prefer to gild armor with the gold instead of making armor out of the gold. I kind of had an issue with that, but it does make an interesting aspect for those Yamalians who've got gilded iron armor, right? Double application, that's double dipping. Okay, but I've got an arrow. It comes over this page called The Mythos of Akos, which is a first age document written by the Sesh Negi sorcerer prince Bertilor, later Duke of Fermalwol. Inserts by later commentator, the early god learner Trajarnio of Iswal, indicated with italics. Okay. So old stuff may be kind of interpreted incorrectly, kind of stuff, right? You can't trust old things very well, right? But there's this place down here about Elhim's metal, which is gold, right? Soft and pliable at first, and strong charms are necessary for it to be as suitable for arms and armor. So apparently there might be some kind of spell out there that makes it suitable for arms and armor. Maybe it's the decrease in encumbrance, which is what I was thinking, because we'll get to that later. But I thought that was interesting. Another dichotomy here. Okay, iron. Everybody loves iron because it's got double the hit points. Bronze or iron plate stops 9 points, not 6. Iron bronze sword stops 18, not 12. Great stuff, right? But it's the secret of the dwarves, right? In this cult called the Third Blue Eye. Okay, we just but when you enchant iron, there is no increase in encumbrance. Good to know. There's this unenchanted. It's kind of a thing I'm seeing as I read through this. It'd be very easy to go unenchanted, whatever, enchanted, whatever. But they kind of mix and slish, and some starts with it, and some does middle, and yeah, it gets a little confusing. Got to go through this very carefully. Okay, but here we do. We have an actual breakout. Unenchanted iron reduces the chance of both casting and being affected by magic by 5% per point of encumbrance. Let me give you an example. You got enchanted iron, an unenchanted suit of iron armor, 12 encumbrance, 60% chance of not being affected by a spell casted at you, as well as providing a minus 60% chance on you casting spells. Okay. Also, a little piece about elder races, right? Iron was made by the dwarves, specifically to fight elves and trolls. And so, elves and trolls are vulnerable to iron. They take double damage once it penetrates their armor, whether it's enchanted or unenchanted. Also, okay, whether it's enchanted or unenchanted, it also does normal damage, pardon me, against werewolves and other creatures that are immune to normal weapons. Remember earlier we talked about iron and silver having the special property of attacking were creatures, right? So here's iron's example. Werewolves, normally immune to regular weapons, but even unenchanted iron, but enchanted iron as well, does double damage to them. Okay, lead, soft and pliable, like gold, right? But it's half again the encumbrance of bronze, they have double like gold, right? Unless you enchant lead. When you enchant lead, the encumbrance goes to normal, or it goes to bronze, right? Enchanted or unenchanted, right? Either lead armor never detracts from the stealth skills of the wearer. Because normally when you wear armor, there's a subtraction because you're making noise. Lead doesn't do that. Now lead, and it doesn't specify if it's enchanted or unenchanted, when made into a crushing weapon, does +2 damage. So a heavy mace, which normally does a d10 plus 2, does a d10 plus 4. Wacko. But it doesn't specify if it has to be enchanted or unenchanted. So if it's enchanted, that would decrease the encumbrance, right? Because normally encumbrance is 1.5. So that's a value there, maybe. Okay, quicksilver and aluminum. Same metal, two different forms. If you use the craft quicksilver skill, you can transform it back and forth. When it's enchanted, it does not sink in water. Swim skill is unaffected, period. Because normally when you have an encumbrance, it affects your swim, but this does nothing. And of course, if you're wearing encumbrance over your encumbrance, it's even more, something like that. But anyway, swim is not decreased at all. The encumbrance is equal to bronze. Okay, silver. Enchanted or unenchanted, can damage creatures normally affected only by magic, such as werewolves and wraiths. So now we mentioned wraiths here. We mentioned werewolves earlier. We mentioned were creatures at the beginning. Why not both the whole time? Consistency. Okay. Unenchanted silver is soft, so as a weapon, it's not really suitable except for bludgeon weapons, like those maces, like the lead, or sling pellets. But it's obviously too valuable for use for that. So if you enchant silver, it doesn't say here, but if you enchant silver, you must take on the attributes of bronze. That's my assumption. So same armor point, same color. Okay, and then 10, rarely enchanted, is mostly used to make bronze. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, and they talk about the enchant metal spell in here. It takes 1 point of power to sacrifice for every 10 encumbrance of material. And the metal always gains the hit points and armor points equal to those of bronze, except iron, which is half again, and may gain other special abilities. There's a little bit, because they don't specify, they specify here, they don't only specify here about the hit points and armor points stuff. So it's kind of assumed, I guess, because it specifies it here. And there's crafting moodle. Crafting with rune metals. There's stage purification, casting, finishing, and enchanting. And this says, see the Red Book of Magic, page 47, for more on enchanting metals. Now, the Red Book was printed before weapons and equipment. So weapons and equipment is essentially the latest work, right? So let's pull the Red Book of Magic and see what is different. Again, they nail the fact that the metals are Glorantha is not Earth. Even though it's called bronze in Glorantha, it's not. It's an analog, it's not a duplicate. Okay, again, metals from the bones of the gods. Bronze here is the most common metal mined right from the earth in many places. But didn't we say something earlier about making bronze out of tin and copper is more common? Okay, Rune metals. Okay, here we go. Here's something, another little discrepancy, right? Yeah. Some enchanted rune metals work against magical creatures and thus would harm physical things that are immune to normal metals. Were creatures, for example. Right? So we were talking about it before, lead, the iron and silver, right? Silver, bronze, and iron do this. This is specifically about enchanted metals. So enchanted silver, enchanted bronze, enchanted iron do this. But we were told previously there is no enchant bronze spell, right? Well, not previous. Later, we're told that, right? That was interesting. I wanted to jump on that. Okay, coming down here again. No enchantment rituals for bronze are common. So maybe there are bronze enchant bronze rune metal, enchant rune metal bronze spells out there. But what they do is make the weapon magical in order to affect creatures that are not harmed by non-magic weapons. Maybe, maybe. I think all the rest of this is the same. Yep, I think all the rest of it is the same. But there was those 2 points about bronze weapons that came out for making a connection. Okay, that's it for this section. There's my alarm. I need to go up and check on the television. Oh, excuse me. So that is, quote, a Bronze Age world. Hmm. Oh, I take it back. There's not. There's more. Pottery. Lots of different pottery things, right? All kinds of pottery. Got prices for things like forma, drinking cups, cooking pots, and then a little description about them and their prices. They talk about spinning and weaving. They talk about fuels: animal dung, charcoal, fire bone, which is coal, wood, and describe how they're used, where they're prominent, that kind of thing. I didn't highlight where they're prominent. I should probably mark that on where they're prominent. And then we go into common goods, which will be the next one. Interesting. Yeah, I should have marked that. Happy gaming.